The Scandalous Legacy of Ma Barker and Her Gang, a deep dive into America's criminal past. The early 20th century in the United States was a tumultuous period marked by rapid industrialization, prohibition, and the Great Depression. Amidst this backdrop of societal upheaval, certain figures carved their niches into the annals of American crime history. Among them, Ma Barker and her gang stand out as one of the most notorious. The matriarch of the Barker family, Kate Ma Barker, has been a subject of immense fascination and controversy. Here are 10 scandalous, incredible, and intriguing facts about Ma Barker and her infamous gang. Number 1. The matriarch of Mayhem, Ma Barker's dubious leadership. Arizona Clark, later known as Ma Barker, was born on October 8, 1873, in Ash Grove, Missouri. Her marriage to George Barker in 1892 led to the birth of 4 sons: Herman, Lloyd, Arthur, Doc, and Fred. Despite the FBI's portrayal of Ma Barker as the gang's mastermind, evidence and accounts, such as those from Alvin Karpis, a close associate of the gang, suggest her role might have been exaggerated. The FBI's depiction stemmed from J. Edgar Hoover's efforts to justify the agency's actions, including the violent shootout that resulted in her death. Nevertheless, the Barker gang was notoriously linked to a string of bank robberies, kidnappings, and murders throughout the early 1930s, solidifying their place in criminal history. Number 2. The kidnapping of Edward Bremmer. On a cold morning in January 1934, Edward G. Bremmer Jr., a prominent banker and the president of the Commercial State Bank in St. Paul, Minnesota, was forcibly taken as he left his home for work. The Barker-Karpis gang, seeking to capitalize on Bremmer's wealth and social standing, demanded a ransom of $200,000, an enormous sum at the time equivalent to millions today. Despite intensive efforts by the FBI to track down the kidnappers, the gang managed to collect the ransom, demonstrating their cunning and the breadth of their criminal network. This audacious act catapulted the gang into the national spotlight, underlining their readiness to commit high-profile crimes. The eventual release of Bremmer, albeit physically unharmed, marked a significant moment in the gang's criminal history, showcasing their audacity and operational capabilities. Number 3. The Bloody Battle of Oklahoma. The showdown in Oklahoma, Florida, on January 16, 1935, remains one of the most storied confrontations between outlaws and law enforcement in U.S. history. Acting on reliable intelligence, the FBI located Ma Barker and her son Fred in a rented hideout. What ensued was a prolonged and intense firefight, with an estimated 2,000 bullets exchanged over 4 hours. The siege ended with both Ma and Fred Barker dead, marking a violent conclusion to their criminal undertakings. This encounter highlighted the determination of the FBI to pursue and neutralize notorious criminals, as well as the extreme lengths to which the Barkers would go to evade capture. The aftermath of the battle left the nation both shocked and captivated by the ferocity of the engagement and the fate of its protagonists. Number 4. The myth of the devoted mother. The figure of Ma Barker occupies a contentious space in the annals of American criminal lore. Portrayed by some as the criminal genius behind the Barker gang, and by others as merely a mother caught in her son's wayward path, her true role remains a subject of debate. This dichotomy is fueled by the sensationalist narratives of the time, particularly those propagated by the media and figures like J. Edgar Hoover, who sought to amplify her notoriety as a means of legitimizing the FBI's aggressive tactics. The enduring mystery surrounding Ma Barker's involvement in her son's criminal activities has cemented her legacy as a complex and enigmatic figure, emblematic of the era's blending of fact and fiction, motherhood, and criminality. Number 5. A family affair, the Barker brothers. The dynamics within the Barker family played a crucial role in their criminal undertakings. Herman Barker, involved in early crimes, died by suicide in 1927 after a failed robbery. Lloyd Barker, who sought a life away from crime, was tragically killed by his wife in 1949. Arthur, Doc, Barker was heavily involved in the gang's activities and was later killed attempting to escape from Alcatraz in 1939. Fred Barker was alongside Ma Barker during the fatal shootout in 1935. Each brother contributed to the gang's operations, with their unique skill sets and roles within the gang's hierarchy, demonstrating the deep familial ties and the collective criminal enterprise that brought them notoriety. Number 6. The disappearance of Herman Barker. On August 29, 1927, Herman Barker's life came to a violent end in Wichita, Kansas, following a failed robbery attempt. This event not only showcased the inherent risks of the criminal lifestyle adopted by the Barker family but also set a precedent for the tragic fates that would befall the family members. Herman, in a desperate attempt to evade arrest and the subsequent legal repercussions, chose to end his life. This incident highlights the early inclination towards violence and confrontation with law enforcement that characterized the Barker family's criminal undertakings, foreshadowing the notorious legacy they would leave behind. Number 7. The tragic fate of Lloyd Barker. Lloyd Barker, in an attempt to dissociate from his criminal background, assumed the alias John Morrison following his release from incarceration. By marrying and relocating to Denver, Colorado, Lloyd sought to reintegrate into society and lead a conventional life. This endeavor, however, was abruptly terminated on March 18, 1949, when he was murdered by his wife in a dramatic and violent episode. Lloyd's murder underscores the profound and lasting impact of the Barker family's criminal history, suggesting that the stigma and consequences of their past actions were inescapable, even for those who sought to change. Number 8. The Kansas City Massacre, a misattributed atrocity. The Kansas City Massacre, which occurred on June 17, 1933, involved a deadly shootout aiming to free Frank Nash, a convicted criminal being transported by law enforcement officers. The attempt led to the death of 4 officers, thrusting the incident into the national spotlight. Initially, the Barker Gang was implicated in this violent breakout, contributing to their fearsome reputation. However, subsequent investigations cleared their involvement in the massacre. Despite being exonerated from direct participation, the incident had already contributed to solidifying the Barker Gang's image as ruthless and formidable criminals, showcasing the challenges in disentangling fact from fiction in the public consciousness regarding the gang's criminal activities. Number 9. The enigmatic figure behind the Barker-Karpis Gang. The Barker-Karpis Gang, a notorious syndicate of the 1930s, was a coalition of the Barker sons and various criminal associates, including Alvin Karpis. The gang's operations spanned a wide array of illicit activities, from bank robberies to murders. While the FBI and media narratives often cast Ma Barker as the orchestrator of their crimes, figures within the gang, notably Alvin Karpis, disputed this portrayal. Karpis suggested that Ma Barker's involvement was exaggerated, arguing that her role was more of a passive participant than a criminal mastermind, thereby challenging the prevailing narrative of her as the architect of the gang's criminal exploits. Number 10. A mother's influence, jailbreaks and legal manipulations. Ma Barker's dedication to her son's criminal careers, as evidenced by her involvement in Arthur Barker's jailbreak, reflects her deep maternal bond and complicity in their criminal activities. Her ultimate fate, however, came to a dramatic end on January 16, 1935, in Ocklawaha, Florida. Following a tip-off, the FBI surrounded the hideout where she and her son Fred were staying. The standoff culminated in a fierce shootout, resulting in the deaths of both Ma and Fred Barker. The discovery of their bodies, with reports suggesting Ma Barker was found with a machine gun beside her, marked a violent conclusion to her involvement in the criminal underworld. This event not only highlights the tragic end of a notorious criminal figure but also serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of a life entrenched in criminality.